Are there diminishing returns? Are there diminishing returns when it comes to dating? When it comes to just being in the upper tier and just getting whatever it is that you want? Basically, having a lot of success. Do you get to a point where you're like, okay, that is too much success, I'm having too much fun, and you basically just stop chasing and you stop doing it? I've heard from a lot of guys who've been fairly successful that they get to a point where they just stop doing it because it's not as fun as it was in the beginning, which makes sense. Like anything that you do that sort of creates dopamine, that generates a dopamine response, you get to a point where the dopamine is just not there anymore, but also you may just not enjoy the process as much, right? And then you get to a point where you kind of slow down. But with dating success and with women, what I find is that it's not just that the dopamine is not as strong as it was early on. It's also that you almost have some kind of remorse where you're having so much success that it just feels like it's too much. Like you're having too much fun. It's almost like you have some kind of remorse, is what I feel like. And I think it's something that has to do with sort of a psychological response, like a neurobiological response, where your brain is telling you, okay, that's too much, slow down. You're having too much fun. I think that's what I think it might be like an actual physiological response that you can't control, right? It's just something that's purely like biochemical. It's just your brain gets flooded with these endorphins and these things, and you're kind of like, slow down, it's too much, you're having too much fun. And I can understand that because in order for the species to continue to replicate itself, you need everybody to be able to participate. And in order for everybody or most people to participate, you need the winners, the guys that are actually enjoying it, to get to a point where they don't even want to keep doing it. It's what I would call diminishing returns. You get to a point where you've had so much that you just sort of like take yourself out of the game to allow other players to participate. I think that is something that would make sense, even though you could say there's a small number of guys that doesn't apply to them. It doesn't apply to them because they're never satisfied. They could do it forever. They could just like, I think so. There's a small number of dudes who could do it forever. Like they're never satisfied. It's like they could just, is it something that's biological, that's psychological? I mean, everybody's different genetically. So some guys could literally be addicted, and then other guys are not necessarily addicted. It's just that they just enjoy it, and then the diminishing returns not there. It's just like it's the same. It never really drops off. The enjoyment, the pleasure is basically the same. It never really. They could do it over and over and over. They could do it for the next 20, 30 years. It never gets old. It's just like, just keep doing it, just keep having more fun. But it's partly also because you have to be honest. Like those guys, they figured out a way to maintain it. Like they figured out a way to be healthy, to maintain their health, to stay in top shape, to eat healthy. So that's a sign of health, right? So a lot of guys who lose that desire, the reason why they lose it is partly because they let their health go and they no longer have the drive to do it. So it's not like they just woke up and they decided to be ethical and to be fair to the other guys. It's not really what it is. It's just more so, I mean, that could be what it is, but I'm saying for many people I know, that's not what it is. It's more so that they let their health go. They got older. Their libido crashed. They no longer get that. They no longer have that motivation or that desire. And then for the other guys who keep going and who keep doing it is because they maintain their health. They stayed in the gym. They ate healthy. And those guys are like 40, 45, 50 years old. And even then, that's like a long time frame. I'm not even talking about decades. Like, if you take a guy who started really dominating the dating marketplace, let's say at 20 years old, by the time he's 25, that's 5 years of pure domination, if you wanted to say it that way. And when he's 30, that's 10 years of just like, now he may have taken some L's, he may have had some heartbreaks, especially if he's blue pilled and he got into a relationship and he tried to do that. But I'm saying for guys who actually know the game and who never did that and just sort of like maximize the number, guys who sort of just like maximize the experience and the pleasure, for those guys, you kind of have to give them credit. It's because they were able to maintain that. And then for 10, 15 years, they just had as much fun as they could, and they keep going. So there's something to be said about that. But the question that I was asking was, are there diminishing returns? That was the question. It's like, once you've done it for so long, does the actual enjoyment go away? Because it's one thing to say, okay, the biochemical system is not the same, either because you got older and you got all these endorphins and you already enjoyed it and you no longer get the same dopamine, or maybe your health declined completely. Like, you let yourself go, you got older, you put on weight or something like that. And because if you add on, like, let's say you put on like 15, 20 pounds, that's already a lot of weight that you put on. That's gonna like completely mess up the process. Yeah, an extra 15, 20 pounds, that's gonna change that. Okay, so let's say you don't make that mistake and you actually stay in shape. Do you still enjoy it as much? Probably not as much. Probably not like you're 45 years old and you enjoy it as much as when you were 20. You're never going to be able to recreate that sensation that you had at that age. That's just impossible. I'm just going to be honest. It's just, you're probably not going to be able to recreate the same level of excitement that you got from it. It's just impossible. But you can maintain a fairly decent baseline to where every time you engage in that, you actually enjoy it. And then on top of that, the experience that you have, and because if you've been doing it so many times for so many years, you gain a level of experience where you can actually optimize. You can optimize it every time. And so at that point, it's not about quantity anymore. It's more about quality. It's not about, can I do it as often as possible? It's like once you get to a certain point, it's not about, I want to do it 5 times a week, or even like once a week, or anything like that. It's more like you're trying to optimize the experience, and you're trying like to get with the best person that you can get with, somebody that matches your chemistry, your compatibility, and also somebody who's like down for all the things that you want, right? And once you have all those things in order and you actually do it, then the experience is a much better experience. So that's the question. It's like, does it ever get to a point where it's just not enjoyable anymore? Or is that something that happens when you let yourself go and your health crash completely? And if you don't let that happen, then maybe even at 40, 45, 50 years old, especially for men, if you're a man and your health is in order, I couldn't imagine that you would stop enjoying the dating and sexual experiences. Probably would not. You probably would not. But that is something interesting to ponder. But for most guys, I don't think it really matters, because most guys are not even. Most guys are hoping that by the time they turn 35 or 40 years old, that's when they'll actually start doing that stuff. Like, it's not like most guys start at 20 or 25 and they're having so much fun and they're killing the game. Most guys are actually gonna have to wait till their later years. And when I say later years, their later younger years, if that makes sense. Meaning late 30s, early 40s, that's when they're gonna have enough money and status and freedom and the ability to maximize their ability by traveling to more places and meeting more people. So most guys, by the time they get to that point, they're just getting started. But some of those guys, by that point, their health is completely shot. So it's those two things. Maintain your health so that when you get to 35, 40 years old, you can actually now start maximizing the fun. And then at that point you still have a window in front of you, like a couple of years in front of you. That's if you're not top 5%, top 10%. The guys that are top 5%, top 10%, they don't have to wait till they're 40 years old. They can start early. But for most guys, that's just the reality of it. But yeah, that's an interesting topic. I'll have to make a follow-up video. It's a very interesting topic.